Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Lunch and Learn series, bringing insightful and inspiring educational programs to you through the virtual lens of the Israel Tennis and Education Centers. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Amy Harrington, and I'm the Executive Director in Canada. I'd now like to turn it over to our Lunch and Learn Chair and our International Board Member, Wendy Slavin. Wendy.
Thanks, Amy, and thanks for all your hard work. I'd like to start off with a special welcome to two of our founders who I believe are here today, Ian Froman and Bill Lippy. So you can give us a wave. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Erez Viter, our global CEO, Kevin Green, International Chair of the Board, Amy Hendricks, US Board Chair, and Ilan Alali, yikes, Global CFO and Interim Foundation President. So hello, everyone. Today, during our Lunch and Learn season premiere, we are joined by a truly remarkable woman, Beatie Deutsch. Beatie is the Israeli national champion in the marathon and half marathon. She took up running just 6 years ago, and in 2019 went pro, qualifying for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics by ranking among the top 80 women runners in the world. Beatie proudly represents Israel on the international stage and was named one of the 50 most influential Jews of 2019 by the Jerusalem Post. She caught the eye of the public not only because she ran a marathon well into her third trimester of pregnancy, but also because she was the only runner wearing a head covering and a long skirt. Beatie's going to share her story with us, talk about the challenges and barriers she had to overcome, and we'll hear how she is inspiring a global community along the way. So Beatie, thank you so much for being here, and I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is my favorite part of, doing what I do, just getting to connect with so many people around the globe, and seeing all your faces across the ocean is really exciting me. When Wendy reached out to me, I actually hadn't heard about the Israel Tennis Educational Center. And I was so excited about the mission because I think more than anything else, I have learned so much about myself, my life, my relationships through running. And I recognize how much sport has the power to change us. And I want to be part of, the Israel Tennis Center's mission, because I believe that every single child can be uplifted, empowered, inspired in their own life. And, if you had told me 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that I would be sitting here today saying, hi, I'm Israel's national marathon champion. I, was a candidate for the Olympics. I'm training for the World Championships. I would have laughed in your face because, like I said, 5.5 years ago, I was not running at all. The most running I was doing was after my kids around the couch, and I could barely keep up with them. And what I've learned the most on my journey, more than anything else, is how much more strength within us we each have, and how much more capable we are than we even realize. And when I think about my own journey and reflect, I recognize that it's possible, I could have gone my entire life without truly tapping into this gift that I have, without ever knowing my own strengths. And every single one of us sitting here, it's possible you could go your entire life without truly being aware of the unique gifts that God has given you. When I was given the opportunity to run professionally for Israel, at the time, I was actually working for a global Jewish organization. My job was to connect Jewish students around the world, help them come to Israel, let them, empower them to educate them. And it was an incredibly fulfilling job. And I asked my rabbi, I'm like, so should I leave this job and go become a professional athlete? I didn't know anyone in my circles. I don't know any other religious mom of 5 who's a professional athlete. And this is what my rabbi said to me. And it's something that I think is relevant for every single one of us here. He said, it is. So there is no one exactly like you on earth today with your precise physical, intellectual, spiritual profiles. There never has been anyone just like you, and there never will be anyone in the future. You are a one-time phenomenon. And if you are so unique, it must be that you were created with a very special mission. And my rabbi told me with that, he said, go, run for it, run for Israel. And I never looked back. And I'm sharing that with all of you because I really am so passionate about this message, because if we don't tap into our gifts, what makes us unique, what we are blessed with, if we don't fulfill our mission, it's not just a personal tragedy. It is so much greater. Every single one of us here is part of the Jewish nation, Am Yisrael. And every single one of us, when we are fulfilling our mission, in essence, we are created in the image of God. And we all have the ability to reflect a unique facet of godliness into the world in a way that no one else can. And if one of us is not truly tuned into who am I? What are my strengths? How am I going to use them to make a difference for the Jewish people? It's as if I would look at the Mona Lisa on the wall and say the Mona Lisa is missing her smile. The Jewish nation is not complete. And that's why I feel so passionate to remind all of us, because I got the wake-up call. Beatie, you have a gift, use it, run for your country, run for Israel. And I know that every single one of us here has incredible gifts. And I have seen time and time again, how we have more inside of us than we ever realized. So I want to share, I could speak all night about my journey. Every single marathon has taught me so much. We don't have all night, but I want to share 3 powerful themes that I have learned from the marathons I've run that really resonated with me, because I believe the marathon is such an incredible metaphor for life. And I will share 3 marathon stories with you. I want to talk about dreaming big and stepping out of our comfort zone. I want to share the message of choosing joy and cultivating gratitude. And I want to end off by talking about overcoming challenges and building resilience, because ultimately that's what life's about. That's what the Israel Tennis Center is helping our kids do. So let's start at the beginning very quickly. I was not running at all 6 years ago. And I hadn't exercised in 6 years. I had 4 kids in 6 years. That was the extent of my exercise. And I said to my husband, I need to do something. I'm so out of shape. And you know what? I tried for several months signing up for classes. Nothing was working. Nothing was sticking. It wasn't consistent. So I said, that's it. I am running a marathon. And everyone always laughs at me when I say that. Like, why'd you go such an extreme? Why'd you go from not running at all to running 26.2 miles? Isn't that a bit crazy? And the truth is, I said dream big. And what I have learned on this journey is that, I used to laugh at this cliched phrase, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. But it is the truth, because every single goal I set for myself, at the time I chose that goal, you would have laughed at me. It seemed in the clouds, ridiculous, impossible. I was nowhere near there. But then, not only did I achieve my goal, when I get there, I realized, wait, I have more in me. I can go further. And what that made me recognize about us as human beings is that we ourselves become prisoners of our own mind. It's our own limitations that hold us back. And if we don't choose to step out of our comfort zone and set those huge goals, who knows if we'll get there? But if we don't try, we'll never know. So I picked the goal of the marathon and I gave myself 4 months to train for it. I knew that any other distance wasn't going to obligate me to get out the door, but no one shows up to 26.2 miles without training for it. And my husband signed me up, Tel Aviv 2016 marathon, and we came up with a training plan. I remember when he was filling out the registration form, he said to me, how long do you think it's going to take you? Do you think you can run the marathon in 4.5 hours? And I looked at him, I was like, no. That's way too fast. Like, there's no way I can do that. And he said, all right, I'll put down 4:40. He was really humoring me. So we started to train, and it was amazing because, I had not exercised in so long, and I had forgotten how badly I needed to take care of myself. At the end of the day, I was missing it so much. And my husband and I used to go out and run every Saturday night together, great date night. You don't spend money, you don't eat food, endorphins automatically make you feel good. And we would come back in a great mood. And the training's going really well. And I'm enjoying it. I'm finally moving my body. We get to a month before the marathon, a month before the big day. And my husband says to me, he's like, you don't want to just cross the finish line of the marathon. You want to know when you cross the finish line that you gave it your all. And I looked at him, I was like, are you crazy? What more do you want from me? Crossing the finish line of the marathon is giving it my all, right? I haven't done anything like this in my life. Well, my husband knows me and he does know that I am competitive. And I think sometimes it's always, we need a mentor or someone else who has a greater perspective of us than we can see ourselves. And he said to me like, no. You want to know when you crossed the finish line that you gave it your all, that you did the best possible time you could. And I was just like, what are you trying to get me into? Like, I don't want any pressure. My only goal is to cross the finish line, no time goal. My husband didn't give up that easily. He basically convinced me. He said, why don't you go out and run a half marathon time trial? See what you're capable of on the 13.1 miles. We'll plug that into a race predictor and it will tell you what you should be capable of in the full marathon. And then you'll have a goal to go for. As if running a marathon is not enough of a goal, right? And I'm like, but I just want to be comfortable. Like, I'm too scared, right? So I agreed, finally. I go out, I run my half marathon in Gan Sacher, the local park in Jerusalem, by myself, like 13 loops around the park. And I was feeling pretty good by then. So I'd go a little bit faster every single loop. And I came home and I told my husband, you know what? It took me an hour and 41 minutes. My husband said to me, based on that, the race predictor says you should be able to run the full marathon in 3.5 hours. And I remember looking at him and being like, you're nuts. That's crazy. No way. Because running a full marathon in 3.5 hours means running a distance I had never run before in my life. Never run the full distance until the day of the race at a pace of 8 minutes per mile that I wasn't running on any of my training runs. And it seemed illogical. And not only that, it was incredibly scary because the biggest mistake that amateur runners make is they start out too fast. And you know what happens if you start out too fast? You don't finish. You bonk at the end. Mile 20 comes and your legs are done. And all I wanted to do is finish. So why take the risk? Well, my husband said, listen, you don't have to start out an 8-minute mile. You can start out a little bit slower and get progressively faster every single mile. And he not only that, he bought me a running watch and he literally programmed it so it would beep if I went too fast or too slow. And I said, I have no choice. All right, day of the race comes. There I am standing at the start line, freaked out, like I'm about to do Mission Impossible. Have no idea if I'm gonna be able to do this. Trained for 4 months for this. First time in my entire marriage that I'm away from my family and my kids. And I'm standing there and I'm just like, okay, you gotta do this. This is it. The race gun goes off, the race starts, and my eyes are glued to my watch the entire time. I'm just looking, am I on pace? Am I on pace? Am I on pace? You know what? The first half actually went pretty well. I'm feeling great. So I get to the halfway point and I think, wait, I can go a little bit faster. And I slowly pick up the pace a little bit. And 5 miles to the finish line, guess what? I was passing every single person on the course. My husband joined me for the last 5 miles. My kids were there standing with signs, cheering me on. And I get emotional every time. I've shared this story hundreds of times, but every time I share it, it gets so emotional because I crossed the finish line in 3 hours, 27 minutes. But you know what? If I hadn't taken that risk and done something that was incredibly scary for me, that I had no idea whether I was going to succeed or fail, I might not be sitting here tonight. I might not have ever uncovered the gift that was sitting there within me, that gift of running that I had, because I recognize that. The truth is, most people don't start out and run a 3:27 marathon for their very first marathon after 4 months of training. It was actually a Boston qualifying time. And I became aware that God had given me a gift of running, but I only was able to uncover this strength I had and this gift within me because I stepped out of my comfort zone, because I did something that was incredibly scary, where I didn't know where I was going to succeed or fail. You think about the common theme of successful people in life, that's it, taking risks, putting yourself out there, stretch goals, stepping beyond your comfort zone. And you know what? That marathon changed my perspective on challenges in life. Because until that point, I had learned my entire life, God sends us tests in life. God tested Abraham 10 times. He's going to test you. And I didn't really fully, and my teachers would always tell us, every test you go through is an opportunity to bring out your potential to action. That's actually the words of Nachmanides. I had no idea what that meant until I physically experienced it in my very first marathon. But every time you go through a challenging moment, it's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for you to ask yourself, how am I going to come out stronger from this? How am I going to uncover another layer of myself that I didn't know before? How is this going to help me become the best version of myself? You will never lose out from stepping out of your comfort zone, because whether you succeed or fail, you will have expanded yourself and you will have grown and you will have learned something that you didn't know before. My very first marathon, I was hooked. I was addicted to running. So I did run a marathon the following year, 7 months pregnant. Not going to share the full story now. And then I decided to train for the Jerusalem Marathon, which is actually this Friday. I'm going to be running the half marathon. But I want to take you, to the marathon I ran in Cape Town. That was in 2019. I ran a marathon in Sanlam, Cape Town. Now, at that point, I was the national champion in Israel. I had run a 2:42 marathon that year in January. I had won the national championship title, and I was now training seriously. This was the very first race where Israel was sending me to, try and qualify through the ranking system to make it to the Olympics. And, I had invested all summer long. I had trained at altitude and everything, there was pressure to meet a certain goal. I knew that I needed to run a 2:36 and I needed to come in the 8th place woman. That was my goals. And I remember getting to Cape Town. I chose Cape Town specifically because it's considered a gold label course, which is what I needed for ranking. But it normally doesn't attract so many top level women. Like I could have run Berlin, which is a better course, but that has a lot of athletes there. It would be much more challenging for me. So I picked Cape Town because of that. But when I got to Cape Town, all of a sudden this year, Cape Town decided they want to make a bid to become a platinum label course. And they had invited 18 other elite female athletes who were all faster than me. And I remember introducing myself. Every time I introduced myself to an athlete, like I was so intimidated. The first thing I would say, everyone change it, everyone's exchanging their PRs, their personal record. How fast have you run? And my fastest time was slower than everyone else's. So I'd automatically introduce myself as, I'm Beatie Deutsch. I'm a mom of 5 and I just started running. Like I needed to kind of validate why I'm slower than all of you. Well, I was a ball of nerves, and I'm normally a person who's very cool, calm, and collected. And I was feeling all the weight of this race, and we had just moved, and I was anxious, and I didn't know what to do with myself. And I actually read something very interesting over that Shabbat before the race in Born to Run. And he talked about the secret to this subhuman tribe, the Tarahumara tribe in South America, that they are extremely fast. And he said their secret is that they run out of joy. And it was so intriguing to me to think about that. When you take all the pressure off and you run because you love it, when you do something with your full heart, it's incredible how all of a sudden your body responds differently. So I made a pact at that moment. I said, Beatie, doesn't matter what happens to you from here on out, you are not going to let one negative thought enter your head. Okay, that's hard. But I made this promise to myself. And I remember standing at the start line of the race and literally watching 18 elite women tear off the start line in front of me. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to get worried. I'm not going to get nervous. I am just running my own race. I'm not looking at anyone else. And I run staying relaxed as possible. And literally the entire time as I'm running the first half of the race, I keep saying, the party isn't started till the halfway point. Like in my head, I was, the messages you send in your own head can literally change the course of how you respond and feel the entire day. So to me, it was all a party. I was having fun. I remember taking in the scenery of Cape Town, the clouds, and reminding myself, imagining as if I'm being surrounded by the clouds of glory, like God literally holding my hand through this race. And at the halfway point, I'm feeling okay. So I think, if I'm feeling good, I can pick it up a little bit. Guess what? I notice I'm starting to pass some women. One woman had dropped out. Another woman was sick, got sick. Another woman injured. I have no idea what place I'm in, but I see that I'm moving up. And it was interesting. Two things happened on that course that could have really, thrown me off. And the thing about life is that we don't get to control what happens to us, but we always can control our outcome. And that's what it means to choose joy. And that is my mantra. And that is something that I have seen have a profound impact on my entire life. One thing that happened was I was running right behind a guy. Secret tip in racing, always find someone to pace yourself off of. And when you're like me and short, guys block you from the wind and it's great. And this guy turns around to me. It's not illegal. It's perfectly fine. He's like, stop running behind me. I have never had that happen to me in any race before. But I said, all right, I'm not going to let this throw me off. I'm like, if he doesn't want me to run behind him, I'm just going to have to run faster. And I did. Second thing was that I literally had to vomit twice on the course. I didn't even stop. I just throw up on the side and kept running. And I remember telling myself, like, just because something happens that is not the way you anticipated doesn't mean God isn't with you. He's right here with you. You know what? The last part of this race was a big, huge hill. On that hill, I passed another two women. I sprinted to the finish line with all my heart and soul and crossed the finish line in 2 hours, 36 minutes, 8th place woman. I called my husband in tears. I couldn't believe it. But I want to tell you something afterwards that I reflected on and that I realized, I was thinking back to the way I had introduced myself and how I had constantly had to almost like excuse the fact that I wasn't such a fast runner. Like the circumstances of my life held me back. And I realized, you know what? Yes, it's true. I'm a mom of 5. I have 5 kids. I have less time to train. I have a lot more responsibility than most professional runners. Yes, it's true that I only started 3 years ago. I didn't go to college and have a huge track background. I didn't grow up doing high school cross country. But I am not going to choose to let myself become a victim of my circumstances. I'm not going to let my life situation hold me back, because you know what? We all have a million different valid reasons and excuses for why we can't do something. But the question you have to ask yourself is, are you going to let those hold you back, or are they going to light your fire to keep fighting? And I chose to let them light my fire. And I always look at being a mom as my greatest advantage, my greatest strength. And the fact that I dress in a lot of extra clothing, I consider it my, secret weapon. I want to end off with the most recent race that I ran in Berlin this year. It's probably the hardest thing for me to talk about because it's so raw and, it's so fresh and real. Well, I was not able to make it to the Tokyo Olympics because the race was scheduled for Shabbat. I don't run on Shabbat at all. I won't compete on my Sabbath. So I chose instead to set my sights on the 2022 World Championships this summer in Eugene. And to do that, I needed to qualify with a time of 2:29:30 in the marathon. That's a really fast time. You need to run about a 5:41 mile for 26.2 miles. This summer, I dedicated my entire summer to training for this race. 3 months. I poured my heart, soul, all our investments. We went to altitude. I took my entire family to Mammoth Lakes. I trained at high altitude, and I got into the shape of my life. I was fitter than I have ever been. And I knew it. The blood test showed it. The workouts were amazing. I felt so good and so confident going into this race. And it felt like the stars had aligned because I even had a sponsor who had, supported my altitude training. That was a crazy story in and of itself. And every workout had gone perfectly according, like I've never had a training cycle like this. It was all a dream. And my family was here and I was going to fly to Berlin just for, less than 72 hours to run this race in the middle of the Jewish holiday of Sukkot. I get to Berlin, I'm so excited for this moment because can you imagine the scene? Here I am, this proudly observant Jewish woman running with Israel across my chest through the streets of Berlin, through the Brandenburg Gate, where Hitler proclaimed that he wanted to annihilate the Jews. And there I am, in my mind, it was like, going to be this epic revenge. I'm here and you cannot destroy us. Am Yisrael Chai. The Jewish people are alive and strong. The morning of the race dawns and, I'm ready. And the gun goes off and we start running. And I ran the first half of the race perfectly on pace. I needed to run a 1:14:40. I even ran a teeny bit faster, 1:14:31. I'm feeling pretty good. 2 kilometers into the second half, suddenly my body just like falls apart. I cannot describe, I have never experienced anything like this in my life, but I told my husband, like, it was like I spontaneously combusted. And I just find myself unable to run, like unable to do the pace I needed to do. At that point, it was so unclear in my head whether I was sick or what was happening. And all I knew is I need to finish. I just need to keep going. I came here to run Berlin, and my coach always tell me, you don't quit, you keep going. And I said, throw your time goals out the door. Don't think about your pace. Just focus on putting one foot in front of the other. If you can do that, you'll make it to the finish. I made it to the finish line and I collapsed and I was brought to the medic tent. And it turns out I was extremely sick, and not just sick, I had corona, tested positive the very next day. It was so devastating to experience that loss, you know, something that I had worked so hard for. It was such a deep loss in that day. The one day that mattered. I succeeded in not getting corona for like 2 years. I was double vaccinated. I was so careful leading up to that race. I did everything I possibly could. And I remember thinking, you know, my entire challenges in life, when we face obstacles in life, for me, my perspective is to remember that I can't control the outcome. The results are not in my hand. I'm not in the driver's seat. You know who is? God. And for some reason, I don't know his bigger plan, his larger plan. We can't always understand it. We can't always see it. But he wanted me to get corona on that day. And I chose to make it my mission to accept it with love, to recognize it as a test of faith, and to be able to, you know, just like any other muscle, flex that muscle of faith so I come out stronger. And like I said, we will never control what happens to us. All we can control is our response. That's what's in our hands. And of course, I let myself mourn. I let myself feel sad. You need to, when you go through something difficult, when you face obstacles in life, you can't just push away the pain in a second. But when you can choose to try and find how this is going to make you stronger, what you're going to take from it, you know, and how this is really helping you develop into that person you want to be, into that shining ambassador of God in this world, it really allows you to go through the challenge with grace, to be able to be kind to yourself, to be able to, you know, be less negative, to be able to keep moving forward. So my race in Berlin just did not go the way I wanted, but that does not mean in any way that I am giving up. Because if there's anything I believe in, you know, I know that every challenge in life makes me stronger. I'm becoming more resilient, and my kids know that. And you better believe that I am going to be at the 2022 World Championships. I'm training for a race in Seville in Spain in February. I'm going to get that standard of 2:29:30. And there is nothing that can stand in the way to you achieving your dreams. When you believe in yourself, when you choose joy and focus on gratitude, and when you recognize that Hashem is holding your hand, God is holding your hand every single step of the way. I'm so grateful to be able to share my story with you here. And I'm really so honored and humbled to partner with such an amazing organization with such a lofty mission, because I truly believe sport has the power to change the lives of our children, the future generation, and instill such incredible values in our kids.
Beatie, thank you so much. I'm overwhelmed, unbelievably inspirational. We're going to show a few photos of you throughout your races, with your family. We have a few questions, so I'm going to just start asking you them now that people had submitted. One of them, earlier this year, you ran the Rahat Peace Half Marathon. And because I stalk you on Instagram, you had posted something that you said, "Can't stop smiling from my race experience in Rahat, even though it's been a few days. Rahat is a Bedouin city near Beersheba, and the goal of this race was to promote unity and connection between Jews and Arabs. I believe that change begins with each and every one of us. If we want to bring peace, it starts in our hearts and through our individual actions. We may not think we can make a difference, but every small step counts. Let's be the change we hope to see. That just stayed with me. And my question is or actually the submitted question is, as an observant Jew in your modest clothing, what did it feel like running through Rahat, a Bedouin city?
Well, honestly, I felt such kindred souls with, so many of the women there because the Bedouin women also choose to dress modestly, obviously in different ways. But to me, it's always inspiring to me. I love seeing the different traditions and of different cultures. And I feel like we can learn so much from each other. And it was honestly such a unique experience. I've never done anything like this before. And it was so incredible to be with the kids because sometimes, I go out and run for myself, but I was here to cheer them on. And I could tell they really appreciate it. And, I think a lot of times we get so boxed into our community and who we surround ourselves with. And I just want to break down those barriers. I just think that we have so much to learn from each other. And something that I always see, I feel like humanity, we're so much more connected than we realize. We have so much more in common than we think. And when we focus on our similarities, we can really bring each other together. So the only thing I felt kind of sad that I didn't get to engage more in conversation, we didn't have real deep conversation. It's not usually facilitated in a race setting, but I would love to do something like that in the future. I want to do more races like this. I want more Israelis to get involved. As anything that I can do with this kind of cause. And I'm very passionate. I think especially, I actually was involved with an organization for a little bit. One of my donors who wanted to help religious women in Israel and Bedouin women, give them, set them up for success to exercise. So I haven't yet fully got involved, but it's a cause that I'm really excited about because I think what he said is interesting. Both the Bedouin mothers and women in ultra-Orthodox communities just struggle with accessible exercise that's affordable, that you can make time for when you're a busy mom. So we have so much in common. We're facing the same challenges. We can work together. We can use the same models to improve our communities.
Another question. Earlier this year, Adidas featured you in their Impossible is Nothing campaign, which aims to unite people through sports and expand the limits of human possibilities. What did this recognition mean to you, and how did it feel seeing yourself on the billboards in Israel?
Yeah, I still kind of laugh about the fact that I was on a billboard because it's not anything I ever dreamed of in my life. My friends and I all really crack up. But I always say that, and I think this is so true, representation matters. And if we want to make a change in our communities, our girls need to actually see what it is we want them to strive for. And I want my daughters to know, you can do anything you set your heart on. Just because you're an observant, female, that does not have to hold you back from pursuing what you're passionate about, whatever it is. For me, it's running. For them, it might be something else. But I didn't grow up with any, observant role models in this area of sport. I never would have believed it possible to be a religious woman and be a professional athlete, never. And so I was just so grateful that Adidas, reached out to me and wanted to feature me. It's not anything I even pursued or imagined happening. And I was really touched that they saw that my faith is my strength, that they highlighted the fact that I am a, modestly dressed, observant woman, and that it wasn't something they were scared to shine a light on. And I'm proud that I can hopefully inspire and encourage young women around the world to pursue sport.
Another question. What advice do you have for someone who hasn't yet tapped into their potential, whether it be their athletic ability, fitness goals, or their career aspirations? Where does one start?
That is such a great question. And I do get asked it a lot. And I remember, when I first came to Israel, actually, I came to Israel for seminary the year after high school. And then I got married at 19. And I was newly married. And I was so passionate about making a difference for the Jewish people. And I so badly wanted to teach and inspire others. And no school wanted to hire me because I was 19. And I felt so like lost because like in my heart, I knew what I wanted to do and I couldn't find a way to do it. And the thing that I would say, the most important thing to uncovering your strengths and trying to figure out is you have to start from a place of self-awareness. And that takes a lot of time. I invested in myself, like literally, I've listened to hundreds of classes on how you get to know yourself. And I've done therapy because I think these things are important, because if you don't truly know what makes you tick, what you're good at, what you're not good at, all those things, that's going to help you figure out where your talents lie and how you are going to use them to make a difference. And I always say, there's not one moment where all of a sudden, you know, lightning strikes and you're like, aha, now I know why God put me here. No, there's not one moment. Be committed to the journey. If you're focused constantly on that goal, I promise you, like our sages teach us, on the path that you want to go, that's where God takes you. So if you keep going in that direction and you're constantly learning about yourself and, you know, seeking out opportunities, God will open the doors for you to be able to use those strengths you have.
Thank you so much, Beatie. It's been such a joy having you. It's amazing. Thank you. I think that's it for the questions right now. We are now, I'd like to introduce the one and only Andy Ram. For those of you that don't know Andy, he is a 3-time doubles Grand Slam champion, ITEC alumnus, and the current High Performance Academy director at ITEC in Ramat HaSharon. Andy is going to talk about ITEC's Headstart program and the opportunities it provides at-risk children from the periphery of Israel. And Andy, sorry, my dog's just barking. This makes me think of my father, as tonight's his yurt site. It's so beautiful that you created this program in memory of your father, Ram. So I'm turning it over to you.
All right, Wendy, it's tough to talk after that. It's such a nice English. Oh my God, I wish my Hebrew was that good. Well, I don't have much time, right? I have a few minutes, and I have to talk about the Headstart. It's a program. When I start talking about it, I always have a goosebumps because, as you all know, I don't know if all know, but the reason I'm Andy Ram, it's because of my father and the tennis centers. The day he put me to play tennis when I was 5 years old at the tennis center, that was the day that my life changed, probably. And everything I have in life is probably because of that decision to put me play tennis in the tennis center. So when I stopped, obviously playing tennis, professional, Wimbledon, winning a couple of Grand Slams and become famous in Israel. When I stopped with the tennis, I knew I want to do something and give back to the tennis centers. I was waiting probably for the right guy, Erez. I'm happy that he's yes, in place, a very positive guy. And, talking to Erez, other than just giving him advices, stupid advices, I asked him, Erez, what can I do to help, to be more helpful in the tennis centers? And we came up with this idea. He told me that we have some problems in the peripheral side of Israel, kids that don't come to play tennis that much, or how the tennis center is a great place for them to go after school and so on. And we started to develop this idea. And I knew I want to do something in memorial of my father. Always wanted to do that. And he passed away like in 2005, so yeah, 16 years ago. And it was a great idea that things match to do something for kids in tennis in the peripheral side of Israel, name it after my father's name. So we asked Erez, what tennis centers do you want me to focus on? And we decided to focus really on the places I think that the kids are most in risk. I think the places that are far away, like from Tel Aviv, from the center of Israel, we pick up Arad, Ofakim, Kiryat Shmona, Tveria. I think those places that sometimes those kids are experiencing war, rockets, crazy things that we all like sitting here and you probably can't imagine like what it's like to live under rockets and those things. But it happened like every 5-6 years or maybe less. And I decided to go and focus on those places. It's a special program, I think, and not something that the tennis center did in the past. I think it's because of my presence a lot. It's really important for me, this program, that will be different in a way that I'll be involved. I'm going to go to the tennis center. I'm going to talk to the kids. I'll be part of it. The kids, that some of them, they know me, and I'm kind of a popular in Israel. So they will have some like role model to look after. They will understand and know that they can make it. The way that Andy Ram made it from a poor neighborhood in Jerusalem without money, and he made it to be something, you all can do that. And this is something that I want to do in this program. Obviously, other than just play tennis, this program will have some program outside the tennis court. We teamed up together with a great organization called Values in Sport, which is going to give them lessons outside the tennis court. So we're going to give them the tennis centers. We're going to provide them the tennis lessons together with this great organization, non-profit organization, obviously, which we're going to get them the values for life and better tools. And my whole idea, the goal of this program is really to see those kids being leaders in Israel, like in the future, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Read about a guy that became a prime minister, and a guy in the ministry of Israel, or a businessman, a leader in the economy or whatever, or just a tennis coach, a tennis player, I don't know what, but better persons. And I'm very excited about this program. You can see me like talking about it, and the passion that I have that this program will be successful. I'm talking about it, and just excuse me for a second, I don't know if I have time or not, but I have to show you something. I got a message, and I can read it. I look for the message in a second on Instagram, and I want to tell you about, this is the whole idea of the program. When I read you the message, wait, I'm going to look for it, because this kid, we went and we started pilot in Ofakim. Listen to that. We started pilot in Ofakim a couple of weeks ago, months ago, and we were there, a great event with the kids and the parents and everybody. The involvement of everybody was amazing. And this program will succeed because of the involvement of the parents. So we're going to Ofakim, and I go and we play with this kid, and this kid come up to me and he gave me a ball. Like, I signed to all the kids, and Andy, can you sign? Can you sign? And there was this kid that asked me, gave me a ball with his signature, and told me, Andy, I don't want you to sign to me. I want to give you the ball signed. So you remember me in the future when I'll be a big guy, a big star, you'll have the ball signed. This kid text me here. I found it on Instagram the other day. I will read it fast. It's in Hebrew, but I have to read it here. Hey, Andy, you might don't remember me, but I'm Osher. This is the kid's name that gave you the ball with the sign at the tennis center in Ofakim. I want to really much thank you for helping me in tennis. And I want to explain you something. The first time I met you, it was when we celebrated 40 for the tennis center in Ofakim. I was so overwhelmed that I was so excited that you came, that I gave you to sign on all the things I had in my bag. My hat, my racket, my pants, my shirt, my bag, on 3 balls that I still kept. Over a couple of weeks, more than a month ago, we met again, and I gave you a ball with my signature, with my name. I was so happy to give you that, and that you took it, that you gave me the motivation to keep going since I'm a little kid. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are a big part and a big reason for me to aim high and to be a successful kid, person, coach, the better I can be in the world. Nadav Avraham, which is the manager, is my coach. He believes in me, and I really hope we're going to meet a lot in life. Thank you very much. This kid that wrote me this message, he sent me this picture with him and him together. You can see that. I don't know if you're going to see that. And I mean, this is the whole idea of the program, that those kids, when I come and the impact they have, they remember it forever, and they will take it. And I believe there will be better kids, better people, better leaders in Israel. And that's it. At the beginning now, I helped raise a lot of money. It costs money, obviously. And I was the one helping at the beginning, supporting the program. I have a foundation on my father's name at the tennis center. I raised some money to open it in 5 tennis centers. So I went to some of my friends in Israel, and we raised quite a nice amount of money. And we started it. We started in Ofakim. Now it's going to go all over the other tennis center. And obviously, my dream is to be all over Israel and get as many kids as we can in this program. And that's it, guys. I'm excited. I'm excited to be part of the tennis centers again, to have great people like Erez, Ronen, which was my coach since I was 10 years old, and we're still working together now 30 years later, which is amazing. Eyal, that is unbelievable. Lilo, everybody, the team is there. I can tell you guys, the team is amazing. I'm so happy. And the kids, I think they are very, very lucky to have all of you. working for them. So thanks, guys. Yeah.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you. If anyone has any questions for Andy or Beatie, you can go in the chat feature, or I don't know if you can unmute yourself, but raise your hand and we will call on you. Yeah.
That one. Kevin, hi. Can I ask a question? Ready? Yeah. Okay. So Beatie, I just want to let you know that I'm about to explode through my door. You really are very special, and it's magnificent to listen to, and it really is inspiring, honest to goodness, because we're all jocks, and you were like Vince Lombardi and a lot of famous motivators, and so it really, you're very special. We are walking, we're a huge part of our inspiration and motivation in the ITEC is to come into Arab villages and to help our brothers and sisters together. Can you elaborate on that and just how you feel? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I mean, this is my first kind of step in being involved with ITEC, so I haven't yet gotten to experience that part of the program at all, but I think that's really incredible. Actually, like, I live kind of in an area where I see, a lot of Israeli Arabs all the time, and my brother lives out in the settlements, and my whole family, we always make like a really big point of, if we can, just to be really friendly, and if I can offer a ride, I'll give rides to, anyone Arabs that I see. Like, I haven't actually gotten to go into an Arab village like that. I think that's really incredible, because I'm sure the kids, really need the sport just as all of us do, So I think it's a beautiful part of ITEC's mission, and I'm really excited about it.
And just one other note, Andy texted me during your speech and said he wants to run a marathon.
Oh yeah, amazing. I'll pace you. I'm really touched by your words, and honestly, it means so much to me, because I just love running like a lot. Like, I love it for myself, and I sometimes forget that it's not just me anymore. Like, there's so many people on this journey, and the beautiful part of that is, like, I know that whether I have a great day or a really hard day, like I just did, like, my entire family of supporters is behind me, and you always have the most amazing words to share with me to give me that support. And that's the real power of community, being part of something like, Israel Tennis Center, and whatever it is, that support can literally change your life from being able to, just not do anything and to achieve a goal. And that's what's so powerful. When you have people behind you, like, it can make a world of a difference. So thank you.
Well, I have something else to say, Wendy. Can I?
Please, Aras.
Hi guys. Thank you so much for joining.
Erez, I told Kevin I will run a marathon only if Erez will run it with me.
I can swim a marathon. I can't run, unfortunately, but I think those two stories of Andy and Beatie are so much alike, because both of them broke a wall, psychological or other types of wall, and built up a big bridge between the places they were to success. And all they needed is someone to believe in them, someone who will run and help them to break that walls. Beatie spoke about all those fears. And Andy, I believe also, when he was 5, had many fears as a new immigrant to Israel. All they needed is someone to believe in them. Andy had some of them in ITEC. One of them is here with us, Ronen. He's our great coach and his inspiration. And Beatie has till today, has her husband and family to support her, to believe in her. And both of them had a very strong belief with inside of making the action and helping themselves to be successful. And I would have said that you should join forces with us, Betty, because all what we do now is build those bridges for all those kids, 7,500 in Israel. Most of them are unprivileged, and most of them need someone to believe that will believe in them to get to the best place they can be. Some of them will be marathon runners. Some of them will be champions in Wimbledon, and some of them will be just finished school. That will be a great triumph for them, or not getting into prison. Every one of them should break the walls and build a bridge to a better place in life. And I think that is where ITEC, that was ITEC doing for the last 46 years. So we're not changing our ways. We're just finding it together with people like you in the 21st century into a much, much better future. So I want to thank both of you for coming here, for sharing your stories, for sharing your inspiration, because every time I hear someone like you, I have a much more energy for tomorrow to stand up and bring some more walls and bring some more bridges for those children. So thank you very much. Wendy, I finished.
Thanks, Erez. This was amazing. Thank you all. I'm like, it's hard to speak right now. Anyway, wow, this was fantastic. So thank you all. So here, I'm gonna add this, one last announcement. If you haven't registered for our upcoming gala, right now, we will help you. We have 3. It's Max Weinberg, drummer for Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band. He will be entertaining our guests with an interactive concert in Chicago, November 9th, New York City, November 16th, South Florida, December 7th. So right now you can either visit our event website that is in the chat. You can reach out to me or Lauren Rabner. Her email and phone is also in the chat. We'll keep the Zoom line open for a few minutes if you want to stay on, and we can register you right there. We also have amazing silent auction items, strips, all of that you can register, and we will help you bid right now. So anyway, thank you all for joining us today. Stay on if you want us to register you, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you.